today, we are going to talk about politics and your portfolio. This is something that keeps coming up with clients concerned about the 2020 election and how it's going to affect the markets, which, it's okay to be concerned, but let's look at some historical facts to see how we should handle dealing with an election and how the market responds during election years. The White House. So investors' top concerns right now, at the top of the list, is U.S. political uncertainty for the 2020 election. We have two amazing candidates right here. And what I want you to know is that discipline is what's going to win every election. And we'll talk about this. So the three things that we're going to look at is that election outcomes, like the markets, are totally unpredictable, and they're far less important for your investment success than you might think. The wait-and-see strategy is not a strategy for success, and I want to give you a couple strategies for investment success during election years and beyond. So the 2016 presidential election, does anybody remember that? Yeah. So as you can see, the news media and all the polling showed that it was pretty much that the Democrats were going to have a landslide victory. I mean, look at some of these, 99% Democrat, 98% Democrat. And as you can see, every single one of them said the Democrats were going to win. So what actually happened in 2016? And remember, if Donald Trump got elected, the markets were going to crash, right? So there's a lot of people that tried to speculate and gamble with the market, and they lost because they're trying to predict something that is totally unpredictable. So let's take a little look back at 2016 and remember some of the headlines in the news.
Markets responding dramatically, as we've been discussing, to the current lead by Donald Trump in the Electoral College count. I want to bring Bloomberg's Joe Weisenthal and Guy Johnson, along with RBC Capital Markets Chief U.S. Market Strategist Jonathan Golub. Jonathan, we were talking a few moments ago before that news came in from Florida, just about the degree to which the market may have priced in a Hillary Clinton victory. Your reaction to what we've seen so far tonight?
Well, I mean, obviously the news is a shock, and all evening, instead of watching, obviously I'm watching the electoral map, but I'm watching the, what the market is doing. I'm watching the S&P. I'm watching the Mexican peso, and it's telling me what the odds of a Trump victory is. We put out a note today saying if Trump wins over the next couple of days, it's a 10 to 12% market pullback.
Here's another one.
We are closely tracking Wall Street's reaction to Donald Trump winning the White House. Dow Jones futures tanked on election night going into Wednesday morning, but then the Dow closed up 250 points yesterday, and today the Dow surged to a new record high at one point, and right now it is currently up over 200 points.
So two things to take from this. The media has no clue what's going to happen. And so I'd stop listening to them and what they're going to forecast that's going to happen with the election. You should just be a long-term investor, and everything will turn out okay. So I'm just going to flip through these slides very, very quickly. It's going to show every single president, whether it's Democrat or Republican, and looking at the cumulative returns as they go through. So I'm going to flip through these, look at the cumulative return. You can see whether there's, a expansion or recession on each one as well. So here's the slide that really matters with that. As you can see, the market tends to reward long-term investors regardless of the president or political party that's in office. And if you want to see a trend on this from 1926 on, what do you see? That the market's going to go up over the long term, and even at the election time, there's going to be some volatility, but most of the time it doesn't affect the market at all, and you should invest accordingly. So the next thing, wait and see. And that is not a strategy for success. I'm just going to wait and see how the election plays out before I do anything. I'm hearing this all the time. Should I not, I have some money to invest, but I think I'm going to wait till the market's over or the election's over. I think that the market's going to do a big pullback if Biden wins. It might be a good opportunity. It very well might be. I can't predict the future, but it's not going to affect the market long term. Does volatility spike during elections? Of course. As we get closer to the election, There's a lot of volatility, as you can tell right now. News of every single day that changes, the market's going up or down based off of that quite significantly. I don't know why I can't get this slide to pull up where you guys can see it, but basically from 1964 to 2019, the S&P's returned 15.7%, regardless of who's been in office. Be a long-term investor. And this is another thing that you see around election time because of the fear of everyone else. People tend to go to cash. They get nervous and want to, not only keep their money on the sidelines, but actually sell out of their investments and sit on the sidelines with cash. So as you can see here, Americans are hoarding trillions of dollars in cash before this presidential election. As you can see here, this is kind of the normal flow of the traditional investor that tries to make emotional decisions with their money. You can see in the first year of a presidency, they're highly invested in equities. Year two, a little bit less. But leading up to an election, you can see everybody goes to cash to see and wait and what's going to happen. So I'm going to look at three different scenarios, three hypotheticals where we invest $10,000. And this is looking at what's actually happened since 1932. And whether you stayed fully invested, you consistently did like the dollar cost averaging where you put in a little bit each month for 10 months, or sitting on the sidelines, nervous about the election, the affects market, you wait till January 1 and then after the election you invest your money. So sitting on the sidelines at $10,000 would go to $14,914. Okay, if you did the dollar cost averaging each month, you'd come out to $15,729. But once again, if you stayed fully invested in the market, consistent with your risk tolerance, and this is the S&P, but with your risk tolerance, you're going to win, $15,866. Lastly, simple strategies for investing during election years and beyond. Don't try to predict future market outcomes based on the current news. It's a loser's game. We saw that in 2016. Don't mix political party preference with the success for your portfolio. Your portfolio is going to be fine. It always has been. Look at the trends, short-term volatility, long-term, everything's going to be up. And your behavior is more likely to affect your retirement than any election will. And this is once again, when you look at the behavior gap between investment returns and the average investor return, it's because of letting fear and greed control you, making emotional decisions with your money based off of short-term stuff going on in the market, stuff going on in the news. You want to be a long-term investor, very disciplined, unemotionally rebalanced, and that's how you're going to win. Discipline wins every election. My job is to help you stay disciplined and talk you through it. The evidence shows you should vote for your candidate with the confidence that your portfolio doesn't care who wins. I know we got two great choices this year. Amazing. But I promise you, everything will be just fine. Remember, invest with evidence, be disciplined, and that's how you win.